Thanks very much. Now we're just into the final session of the day, and we're really coming full circle. William Fenton, at the beginning of the day, identified a number of trends. One of the big ones was the rise of social sponsorship, and we're lucky to have here two people who are going to talk about the Orange RockCorps collective. Stephen Green, who is founder and CEO of RockCorps, and Andy Piercy, who's head of brand sponsorship for Orange and T-Mobile. Now Andy's going to do a presentation. He's going to hand over to Stephen, and then we're going to have some time for questions at the end. So, Andy.
Thanks very much. Good afternoon. I've got the graveyard slot, so I'm hopefully not keeping you from your beers or wine for too long. Well, what I'd like to do with today's presentation is split into two halves. So I'll do the first start, and I'll talk a bit around Orange RockCorps, how it works, some of our learnings, the challenges we face. And what I'm going to do is bring Stephen Green on, who can speak far more eloquently around RockCorps and how it works and his philosophy and how he's found working with a big brand such as Orange. Hopefully you'll find that interesting, having two perspectives of looking at it. I just wanted to start off by talking about some of Orange partnerships, and just to say we've got a number of partnerships. We've got Orange RockCorps, we've got Orange Wednesdays, we've got the Orange British Academy Film Awards, we've got the National Business Awards, sponsored by Orange. And we've got Glastonbury, where we're the official communications partner. And we've got Orange Prize for Fiction. Now, the point I just want to make on this is that we approach these in a very much a partner way. We don't see ourselves as a sponsor, although I'm head of sponsorship, we see ourselves as a partner. And the important part there, just the bit to know, is if you look at all those properties, every one of them started at the beginning with Orange. So we've developed Orange Wednesdays working with the film industry. Orange RockCorps launched in the UK, working very closely with Steve and his team. The Orange British Academy Film Awards, we were the first title sponsor. That's been going on almost 10 years now, over 10 years. Glastonbury, we were the first communications partner. Orange Prize for Fiction was something we developed and started, all working in very much partnership to develop them over the years. And the results are, these things have been running. Orange Prize for Fiction is now in its 15th year. So what do we look for in a property? Does it express our brand vision? Brand straplines end a lot, but the brand vision is important, so we often take a look at that. Does it offer our customers added value? As a telecommunications company, it's all around keeping our customers happy. So the partnerships have to offer our customers added value. And then what's our role? I don't want to sponsor something for no reason. I need to have a reason or an added value that Orange, or T-Mobile now, the Everything Everywhere company, can add to the whole sponsorship. And then does it differentiate us? There's lots of stuff going on. Is it going to differentiate me from my competitors? And then are there commercial opportunities? We're a commercial business. We need to make money. So anything that does that is always of interest. So, I'm here to talk about RockCorps. It's a beautiful idea. It's based on a very simple idea. Give, get given. What happens is RockCorps creates amazing concerts with amazing musicians, and customers, consumers, come and give 4 hours of their time, and in return they get given a ticket. They can't buy that ticket, they can't win that ticket, they have to earn that ticket. It's built on a very simple idea, and that simple idea can travel across countries and does so for our brand. So we've launched it in France, we've got it in Israel. And Stephen is constantly in contact with my global counterparts to try and take it further. What RockCorps does is it uses the power of music to really motivate youth into getting up and being part of their community and changing things. Artists such as Lady Gaga, Snoop Dogg, Rihanna, David Guetta have all helped us create the stimulus that's needed by the youth to get there. So RockCorps's got 4 parts of the model, very distinct stages, and I'll go through each one, because each talks around different engagement to the consumer. We've got the recruitment stage, we've got the project, we've got the reward, and then we've got the collective, which I'll talk about. The recruitment stage is where we're essentially trying to get people aware of RockCorps and actually register to actually take part in one of our projects. For us, what it does is it's about building awareness of RockCorps. We know for a fact that people, if they become aware of the RockCorps concept, love Orange more. So the first stage is getting people to know about it. Then we're driving registration to actually make sure we fill the arena or the Wembley gig that we're going to do. Secondly, the projects. RockCorps work with a number of charity partners to select a number of projects around the gig that we're doing. So in London, there will be a number of projects happening. And what that gives us an opportunity to do is give a fully branded experience to all our customers. And again, we know once they're aware of RockCorps, they love Orange. Once they go on a project, they love Orange even more. So the emotional proximity keeps building. It gives us a chance to really create buzz and talkability amongst the youth that actually go and participate in the project. Then you get onto the reward part. We run these gigs, and the gigs are amazing, and they get the tickets. It's a chance in a lifetime. And the guys, they go in their groups, they go in the volunteering groups, and they all sit in the audience together, and they really get behind the act. And you kind of, from a brand point of view, it's a sweet spot. You're not going to get much better than that. They walk away from this gig absolutely buzzing about Orange, about RockCorps, about the whole concept. And what that does is we've got a partner, Channel 4. You take that content, run it on T4, which builds the awareness again, and also digital content that helps keep building the whole buzz and talkability. Now, what we found was, we've obviously have one event, or two events as I'll talk about, but what we wanted to try and do was create something that would build us a year-round presence. And what the collective allows us to do is maintain that year-round presence, but also take it out nationally. I'll talk a bit around where the gigs have been so far, but it's London and Manchester. But what we want to try and do is spread that out. The collective is quite a simple concept. People register with the collective, they can look at various projects in their local area. We ask them to go and do those projects, they come back to the website, they talk about those projects and share them with us, and once they've done that, and they've done their 4 hours, we give them music rewards, tickets to gigs, work with different partners to offer all sorts of different things. And what that does is it really allows us to build the breadth of Orange RockCorps outside of just the gigs. So, why it appealed to us, apart from it being just quite a lovely idea, it supported at the time we were launching a brand new brand vision, Together We Can Do More. As a communication company, we believe that bringing people together is better than doing things on your own. So it worked beautifully for that. It was also very innovative and unique. There was nothing out there like RockCorps. So that worked for us again in terms of our brand values. We like innovating, we like doing new things. And it was flexible to grow. We could work in partnership to have our input into how it worked. And RockCorps were very good at working back with us, so it gave us flexibility to grow and evolve as our objectives changed. And it tapped into the big society sentiment that's around. It's a kind of buzzword at the moment, but it is around doing good around community. And RockCorps really taps into that. And then, importantly, we kind of touched on the last session around internal engagement. What RockCorps does is it allows us to talk to consumers, but also allows us to talk to our internal employees. So we have a number of projects running across our whole employees that can go out and do projects, get tickets, so it all works across internal and external. And it came with challenges. I'm sure Stephen will agree with me, but it was a new company. I think if Emma, my procurement manager, is around still, it creates issues for procurement. If you've got a company that doesn't have a credit rating, it's a new company, it's a bit of a risk. So you have to work hard at trying to work that through. There's no guaranteed media exposure. It's not a traditional return on investment model. I don't know how much press I get. I don't have a standard amount of media that I'll get. So again, it's a bit of a risk. But with the right partners, Channel 4, you'll get a certain amount. And also, it's a brand initiative in a sensitive area. Third sector, we don't have any experience in there. We've got to tread really carefully, and that's where RockCorps, working with them carefully, know that area and really help us tread carefully whenever we might fall. And then balancing equity of two brands. RockCorps was a new brand, it didn't exist in the UK. And Orange, we like to lead things as a brand, quite brand defined, as you see from all the orange everywhere. And so, it was a battle to try and get some kind of brand equity between the two brands. I think Stephen did a great job of holding his own against the Orange brand, so I'm sure we can talk about that. And also, it needed further partners. It wasn't just a case of us sponsoring it. We needed to work with Stephen to find more partners. We had to go out and find a handset partner. We had to work with him on how he gets a media partner. So it was quite a difficult challenge. So, we launched in 2008. That was the first gig. We had 5,000 volunteers, a gig at the Royal Albert Hall. It was a huge success. Buster Rhymes played, by the way. Then what we did in 2009, we expanded it to Manchester. So we took it out of the Royal Albert Hall and took it to Manchester and London. We had Lady Gaga up there in Manchester. And then we launched the Orange RockCorps Collective, which I spoke about before, to give that national spread and year-round presence. And then in 2010, we continued with Manchester and London, but really grew the collective. because what that allowed us to do was keep talking to these people year round. 2011, we're evolving again. Had a number of challenges around objectives. RockCorps have been brilliant, so we're evolving again. You'll see how that will launch soon. And we've achieved a lot. 24,000 tickets have been earned by consumers. 96,000 hours of volunteering has been done. We're going to hit 100,000 this year. Nearly 400 charity partners have received help. 96% of volunteers would volunteer on the Orange RockCorps project again. 57% of Orange RockCorps volunteers said they would volunteer again without the need for an incentive. So hopefully those results give you an idea of how well it's working. So from a brand point of view, let's talk about the big society agenda. It's something, a conversation that David Cameron is having around. I think it's a fairly hard time at the moment, but Stephen's been talking to them, and I think they're passionate about it. They think RockCorps is a good embodiment of that conversation. We're proud of that, and I think that's something that will continue. It's allowed us to create one unified volunteering community for Orange. We've recently launched something called Do Some Good Act. We've linked that in with RockCorps. We've also got the Orange Employee Volunteer Scheme. So we're trying to join all these up to create this one unified volunteering community. So in terms of the benefits we get as a brand, we get improved emotional proximity and consideration. I spoke about when you become aware, you love Orange more. When you go, you love them even more. When you go to the gig, you love them even more. And then the word of mouth spreads that love. It improves our brand measures around community, which is great. One of our brand values is around community, so that's good. It also really differentiated our position in music. Lots of music properties out there, a lot of people doing live music, festivals. What this does is put a unique position in music. It really shows on our scores. And it's a strong impact on youth. It's been great for youth, but interestingly, what we find is the slightly older ones are actually quite interested in the young people helping the community. So there is a halo effect of that. So if you can involve them more, you spread the word even more and take it out just being a youth activity to being a much broader piece of brand communication. It's got a positive impact on Orange employees. We've seen we do internal scores on how you feel to work at Orange. It's helped. Another really strong factor. And it's seen as a positive CSR initiative by the government. So again, it's another added value that we get. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play a quick video that kind of summarises all the work that we've done over the past 4 years. And then Stephen Green's going to come on and tell you a bit about his philosophy, how RockCorps works.
Exciting kids here in Israel. They couldn't buy tickets. They had to actually work doing community service for 4 hours, and they're just way more enthusiastic.
We want to eventually go all over the world because our philosophy is that, through music and through one kid at a time, we can change the world.
Everybody shares a passion for music. They share a pride in the place that they've grown up. That's just as true in Paris as it is in London, as it is in New York.
Everybody make some noise for Orange RockCorps right now!
Every single one of you here volunteered 4 hours of your time to help a charity or community in the Manchester area. Well done, you.
It's really good that young people are getting together to actually do something for a good cause. It's really helping to bring everyone together, different age groups. It's fab, it's great, I love it.
Déjà, on rencontre des gens du quartier qu'on ne connaissait pas forcément. C'est une bonne ambiance. Travailler, ça donne envie de travailler, puis surtout de savoir qu'on aide les autres.
On pense que c'est vraiment déjà au cœur des actions mobilisatrices qui ont du sens pour les jeunes d'aujourd'hui. C'est complètement en relation avec le métier de lien, de contact, d'échange ensemble. Quand on fait les choses ensemble, on peut en faire plus et ça peut être plus festif.
En tout cas, vous pouvez vous applaudir.
What makes this organization so special is that it makes volunteer work a bit fashionable, and I like that idea.
Très content d'avoir participé à ce projet en Angleterre, mais aussi ici en France. Ça m'a peut-être touché encore plus ici parce que c'était la France et j'ai trouvé que les jeunes étaient super, mais vraiment super.
And you see, when you give, you get given.
Some people can afford the tickets even if they were on sale. They just give them the chance to get the tickets. No matter what, they can put something in to get something back.
Ce qui est génial, c'était aussi de savoir que toutes les personnes qui étaient là parce qu'elles ont fait quelque chose de bénévolat.
It was just an amazing concert. 4 hours for such an amazing concert. I was proud.
Every individual. I was out there cutting trees with you. I was painting the parks with you. We was picking up garbage together. Everybody out there, make some noise for yourselves. Because Orange RockCorps really appreciates you.
That's giving you a flavour. We're going to Steve. We'll give you the one for RockCorps.
How's everybody doing? Come on, help me out. I had to follow Buster Rhymes here. How's everybody doing? Thank you. Thank you. It's not a tough, easy slog here, so I appreciate that. And thanks, Andy, and thanks to Orange. This is a sponsorship forum, so thank you also to BlackBerry and to Channel 4, who help us bring RockCorps all around the UK, and as you've seen, to other places that Orange is operating. Just tell you a little bit about where RockCorps came from. Maybe that's interesting, sort of the journey that brought us to the UK, that brought us to the point of putting a partnership together with Orange. You know, I started the company with 6 of my friends in Los Angeles, 2003. And we were really motivated by the events of September 11th, a couple of years before. We wanted to put on something. We were working in and around music. Some of us had a nonprofit background, which is where I came from. But you know, we really liked this idea of giving time to the communities instead of money, a different form of currency that could engage everybody. But really this idea of volunteering and taking it around the world, you know, our ambition is to be a global volunteering movement, is, you know, and working in that nonprofit, that charity background, part of my mission was to always try and get new people, young people involved in the work we were doing, recruit volunteers. And no matter how good we were at explaining that proposition, you know, polish your CV, make a difference, meet new friends. I mean, however you put that combination together, you'd always get the same 5, 10, 15% of what we would call the Honor Society youth that would come and do volunteer work. And well, maybe another 5% that were court ordered to work off some fines or something. But you know, we were kind of missing that big mainstream. And as part of my reason for sort of leaving the nonprofit world when I did at that time. But also another reason was the funding cycle was so much a cycle, which was raise money, raise money, raise money from government, from foundation, run a program, Great program, money goes away, try and get it, grants aren't there anymore, program dies. So not sustainable at all. So when these guys in Los Angeles said, why don't you come together and help us form this RockCorps thing? So I don't want any part of that. That's volunteering and that's raising money. No thanks. And I said, no, we really are doing this differently. We're going to use music as the object around which to recruit youth. Okay, that's interesting. And the volunteering comes up underneath that. And we're not going to run it like a standard nonprofit. We're going to seek brand partnerships. And we really feel that, and this is pretty radical in 2003, now it's become quite obvious, and I understand it's been a theme of today. We really felt in 2003 that communicating and marketing and talking to consumers around social engagement, around community action, was just as much of a passion point as music, as sport, as film. It was a little ahead of its time, and no one had really thought about a way of doing it that could fit with brand DNA. So really working together with brands and creating a scalable model and using music as the object is what's going to help us hit our ambition of getting as many people around the world to volunteer and engage with their communities as possible. So it's on this core belief that people do want to give back. They want to be involved in change in the world. They want to be involved in change in their country, in their city, and in their neighborhood, in their community. Everywhere we go, we see the same research, the same results. Is it important to give back of your time? Is it important to be involved and engaged civically? 85, 90% of the people are saying yes. Are you doing it on a regular basis? 5, 10, 15% maybe are doing it. That's that niche in which RockCorps lives. So it actually, kind of in the life cycle of how people think about being involved civically changes a little bit. The 18 to 24, very idealistic, you can't tell an 18-year-old anything, they know everything. They can change the world, so the aspiration is there. Then life comes in, and job, and finishing university, and finding a partner, and getting some property together. So then it becomes about changing my city, changing my community. But very much this desire and this belief that they can change what's happening in their surroundings, but not always knowing where to do it. That's where RockCorps sits. The unique thing about our project here is that, unlike a lot of more standard or traditional, if you will, CSR, foundation-led corporate activity, this is something for the brand that you can actually point a camera at. This is our concert with Rihanna here in Israel, where there was 13,500 volunteers. You saw a lot of video from the Royal Albert Hall there in London, where you can actually point a camera at it, which allows us then to amplify this whole story. You see the results of the work of the brand, and all of those consumers who've been engaged with you are all together in one place for that celebration. This is what happens to our volunteers, taking some of the statistics Andy said ahead of time a little bit farther. So 2/3 of people who have participated with us have gone back, this is from last year, have gone back to look for more volunteering, and about 35% 12 months after have gone back and done something else, either with the charity NGO partners we worked with, or they found something else on their own. So actually there's another gap in there we find quite interesting. Where are those other third going, the people who look and didn't find? It's, I think, incumbent upon all of us to make civic engagement a little bit more obvious, a little bit more like the lifestyle of people. I think, and I can say this coming from a nonprofit background, a lot of ways we sold engagement in communities did not resonate, or does not resonate, certainly in this mass sort of communication, sophisticated society we live in. So that gap's another interesting one we look at. So talking about brand partnerships for something like RockCorps. These are some of the brands we worked with besides Orange, and we've learned a lot, from that time in 2003 when we had this idea to how this thing really works. And so it's great to be here with you all. I think it talks a little bit, it speaks a little bit to our journey that we actually can get to come to these now, and we didn't even know that these forums existed, let alone being able to talk at them now. So we've learned a little bit about how to put these partnerships together. We're in sort of the old CSR way of thinking. Certainly when we were in a nonprofit, we were out in the community and we were doing great work. I mean, our particular nonprofit works with people with developmental disabilities as well as traumatic brain injuries. Just some fantastic stories, fantastic lives were changed, and it just seems so obvious to me that we would walk in to a corporate department and we'd say, look, we're doing great work, obviously you're going to support it. And you know, that experience really informed a lot about how we formed RockCorps, because you would usually sit, this is before PowerPoint, so you had your boards sitting in the lobby waiting to be called in, and we'd be waiting a long time, and then you get walk past the brand director, the CMO's office, look really nice, lots of activities. Hey, that's not where you're going. You keep walking down the hall. Maybe you'd be at the media director's office there, or director of communication. Not quite as nice as the CMO suite, but still lots of activity and shuffling about. No, that's not for you either. You kept walking down the hall, maybe down the stairs, probably more likely out to the annex, and you meet a director of community relations who would give you a form to fill out about your project, and you'd fill it all out. Maybe if that was, you know, somebody on the board of directors of that company or the chairman, that was the priority of the corporation, you might get consideration. And I thought, well, we really would rather be up where all that activity was, up in those suite of offices at the beginning. How do you do that? What's that all about? So for us, it was about starting there and then working back, making sure our community programs and our partnerships with our nonprofits and other NGOs were really solid. But starting with the needs and objectives of our brand partners. You know, looking across the landscape, you know, do they have a consumer-facing type of CSR program going on? Do they have a hole for us to fit in their music strategy? Do they have a problem with youth that we can help solve? You know, thinking that way first and then going back out into the community was a pretty radical flip for us, and I think a key to our success. And then this whole thing came in, it's like, oh no, you know, brands are really looking for platforms. They're not looking for events or properties. Like, well, what the hell is a platform? You know, and I want to have one. And basically, you got to have a platform. You know, no one wants just a one-off event. You've got to be able to sit in their narrative the entire year, and it has to have longevity and has to engage. Said, okay, so it took us a few more years to kind of figure out what a platform was, and that actually we had a lot of the elements in how we could put that together. And so you can't probably read a lot of this writing up here, but Andy talked about the 4 stages. And so, you know, part of the problem, so now we have a platform that really does engage the consumers, the potential consumers for our brand partners all year long. But that becomes, then the next stage is, well, then how the hell do you sell a platform? It's one thing to be able to design a platform, it's another one to be able to sell it into a partnership. Because, you know, Andy's as head of sponsorship for Orange, he doesn't necessarily, under his remit, have some of the areas that RockCorps touches. And it's such a broad-based type of thing. How do we engage with those companies? So, for example, you're just in this recruitment piece at the beginning. You know, we build together a co-branded website. We generate a huge database. We run a CRM system, our own CRM system that talks to people we're engaging. You know, through the recruitment process, through social media, getting them to enlist their friends, pretty sophisticated stuff. And then when you know, kind of the aha moment for us was, you know, buried in there what I just said is we build a co-branded website. Now there are some great agencies here in London who all they do is build websites. You know, so they spend a lot of time, weeks, developing this creative idea, and with this website they're going to build, and they take it into Andy or his colleagues at Orange and say, here's the website we're going to build. That's just one component of a platform. You know, it's like, oh, by the way, there's a really sophisticated content-serving, social media connected website in here. Oh yeah, but then we're going to get out into, you know, 200 volunteer projects we're going to do and relationships with these NGOs. And oh yeah, by the way, we're going to have, you know, international stars come down and create some content. So you start to see how broad this platform is. How do we have that conversation with these brands and potential partners we have that helps them understand where all this value is? Now, it's another key part of our learning. This is probably the most boring slide in here, but it's probably the one that means the most to us, which is how do we deliver that value back? How do we, you know, first time everyone said an ROI, I said, what the hell's an ROI? Now we've got to be worried about this. We're just doing these great concerts, and we've got all these youth out there doing this volunteer work. Oh, no, you know, there's a whole way of doing it. And I know some of you are in the audience. But the day we found out that our potential partners were taking everything we presented and turning over to an unknown media agency somewhere, and the director of sponsorship and valuation, they were running some algorithms on all of our things. So we better figure out what ad is all about too. So where's all this information going? And I think being able to communicate the proposition and being really focused on the partnership and knowing where the value comes to the brands, I think it's worthwhile just kind of ticking through some of our learning, about how we're seen as a potential partner, as opposed to just this really cool music and volunteering thing. Certainly in each of these, you've seen these all before, I'm sure, but just give you a quick little take on this. On the paid for media, there's lots of talk always to say, oh yeah, our property has got to have great social media and all this value, and they have to have the velocity of the conversation. Well, you know what? We are essentially selling a concert. When you strip it all down, we're selling a concert with a distinct way of getting in. And if your concert is not being advertised or talked about on radio, old school piece of media, then you're not authentic. You don't really exist. You can do whatever you want in the social media space, but we've got to buy radio at the beginning. So, we think, how do we sound different and unique on radio? We still have to have paid for, but let's innovate it. Owned media, we talked about building a website together. How's that going to really work and be effective and really generate value back to Orange? What do they think about in those owned media spaces? And I'm going to talk about owned media a little later when I get to employees, because that's where it becomes very interesting for RockCorps. Certainly the earned media, and we break out what we call social media, even separate from earned media. I know a lot of people group social media under earned media, but earned media is, particularly around PR and free marketing, a huge piece of value that you can do for what we can do for our brand partners is really helping the brand to be seen different. We lead this halo effect that Andy talked about. So yes, it might be that 22-year-old that's coming, but that 38-year-old potential consumer or current customer really thinks that's a great thing that Orange is involved in because they can see it. Partnership media, or what might be known as shared media, very important to us. What we do with Channel 4, how they promote the program, again, the authenticity, being able to bring Orange into that platform in a way that they couldn't do on their own. Channel 4 has been hugely supportive of us here in the UK. They just love what we're doing and engages their audience. Orange participates in that area in a way that they normally wouldn't, in what you might think was more of a standard kind of branded piece of entertainment. And then, the big thing for us is how much we can shift that brand affinity or those brand scores to the brand love. So that's sort of, what I think that, a lot of sponsorship, as you kind of figure out how to sell and put your proposition out there, a lot of the sponsorship kind of stops there. But we felt, and we know, that there's a lot more value that RockCorps brings to its brand partners than just those first slots, that those media companies somewhere in Soho or somewhere we're doing algorithms on. There's a lot more, so we spend time trying to help our brand partners understand that. Certainly the stakeholders. Andy talked a little bit about the current coalition government talking about Orange RockCorps as a good example of corporations being involved in the community and society. Now, for a regulated industry like telecommunications, you better believe that kind of acknowledgement from the regulators has real power and real value. Talking about the employees, we think of the employees in the same way that we do owned media almost. Orange has, I think, 80,000 plus, and it's going up quite a bit with the T-Mobile virtual employees that are members of communities in the UK. RockCorps is the most consumer-facing type of CSR platform that Orange is involved in, or that most people have. So the customers see, and you can point a camera at all this work that the volunteers are doing. That has great results in what the employees think about working at Orange or our other brand partners. Always one of the top 3 or 4 things. What do you think about this company? What are the pluses? Why do you like working there? Well, I really love that thing, Orange RockCorps. That's absolute gold to the HR departments and the people involved in maintaining and building a company culture. And certainly the community legacy. I mean, being able to connect with these 400 different NGO and charity partners around the UK, that's everything for us and for Orange is being present in all those communities. So these are some pieces of value that might not fit into the nice media evaluation models that sponsorships are run through. So how can we help sell a platform? You know, this is an ongoing piece of work and exercise for us that back when we had this idea of doing these concerts in 2003, we had no idea that we would even be familiar or would know what a chart like that would look like, but absolutely essential to our ambition of growing a global volunteer movement. So that's it. I think we end on that one. I guess. Thanks.
Okay, now we are. I'm keen to sort of get some questions before we finish for the day. We're going to hear in a moment from the decision on the live pitch. But any questions for Steve or Andy? Yeah. One at the back, isn't it? Okay, Chris first, and then the other one.
I'm just intrigued on the application of RockCorps in sport, and whether that's ever been addressed in a sort of Barcelona versus Man United concept, and any comments on that?
First, I want to let you know that we're going to have a vote in a minute between Andy and I, so we're going to ask for a show of hands. Just kidding. Yes, in sport, you quite quickly see there are, we really believe when you talk about objects, to talk about volunteering around, what is a universal language? Music you always think about right away, and then quickly you get to sport, then you keep talking, is film a universal language? Is visual arts a universal language? Is fashion a universal language? Nothing quite comes up into that music and sport category. And, in a lot of ways, when you get to sport, you get to football quite quickly, which is the example that was pointed out. For us, there is a bit of a gender problem there with sport that we don't have with music. So we started with music, but we have done a couple trials actually. We did one with the National Basketball Association in New Jersey. The problem is there's an equation for RockCorps. The ticket that you're getting up at 7:30 on a Saturday morning to go out and do 4 hours of volunteer work has to be of such value that you'll fight through that Saturday morning headache to go out and do your volunteer work. The problem with the NBA, now if you know the NBA at all, the New Jersey Nets are really bad. They have been bad for a long time. In fact, they're moving to Brooklyn, so BK in the house. That's how bad they are. But we got tickets to a really late season game that didn't matter. There's no relegation in the NBA, so the late season game had no value. And we had to work really hard on our communication to get people to come out and volunteer for those tickets. Now the Barcelona Real Madrid example, perfect. The problem is getting enough inventory there to be able to do it. We've talked a bit in South Africa with the local organizing committee. We've talked a bit with FIFA themselves. What we have to do is work together with the sponsors and balancing. That's really the people who control those ticket inventories that aren't sold. And to get enough inventory for the RockCorps model to work there, it's going to have to be brand-led. It can't be property-led like it was with the NBA example, or kind of our early conversations with dead ends with LOCOG and FIFA.
Yes.
Hi there. Gareth Wood from the Adventurists. We are not social enterprise, the Adventurists. We're a private company, but on a very similar model in lots of ways. And one question I always find myself asking is, when I sit down and I strike up a deal and I structure a brand partnership, is the question is, what's the marketing objective? And I see one here that's quite clear for Orange, that they're capturing a tribal market share, and it's a really effective way of doing that. That paradox for you and for me, or for other people as rights holders that work in maybe sort of the community sector, or the big tarnish of CSR, and how does that lie with you when you're sitting there and you're having a more crass conversation? Because one thing we've all ignored here, that Orange have an incredibly strong marketing objective behind this. How does that feel? It's kind of a running paradox for us as a company. So.
For us, we call ourselves pragmatistas. We're not really precious about this type of thing, and we kind of have this viewpoint that capitalism is the second best system to the one that hasn't been discovered yet, and that all of these brands are in the business of marketing and communicating their products and services. Orange would like to sell more network time. They'd like to sell some more broadband. It's quite clear what their proposition is. With RockCorps, our approach is, to Andy, we can help you hit your commercial objectives in a better ROI result than if you bought not even another sponsorship property, but if you bought straight media time. So particularly for this audience, and we're talking, under 30, under 25, if you want to engage and do all this platform type of stuff, spend your money with us, and the time doesn't go to Orange, right? So that's where RockCorps' model kind of stands to your paradox. The time goes directly to the missions of our nonprofit and charity partners, which are delivered directly to the community. All Orange has done is create the platform that allows that to be able to happen. And different than when I was of that target age where you used to have this thing of nonprofit good, corporate bad. Under 25, that distinction doesn't exist anymore. Brands are present in my life. The only question is, do they understand my passions and my needs, and do they have something that allows me to be able to express those? And so that's cracking open a little bit of our DNA. We'd love to know more about yours.
What about just a sort of add-on to that? What about the government role? Now we've talked, the big society is the big idea. You fit into that, and David Cameron has obviously said that he likes you. That sounds great, but from a brand that relies on street call credibility, is David Cameron's endorsement what you need?
So from a consumer point of view, it's not something we'll be out talking to consumers about. It's not relevant. But from an internal point of view, it's massive. You speak to the CEO, and they'll go. We have a department that works specifically with the government, so that helps, and it gives value that you can't tangibly get. So when I do an assessment of RockCorps, that has to play a part of it. But it's not something that I can put a value on. It's very difficult to do that.
Andy, you made a very brave statement. You said that you're a sponsorship man, you don't care about the media numbers.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you didn't. What did you say?
I said I couldn't guarantee the media numbers with this property. I still mentioned the media.
We said you didn't know what they were. Sorry, I thought
when you go to properties like this, there is a certain amount of. You're not buying property that gets, for example, a football sponsorship where your brand will be present on TV screens week on week, and you can do an assessment of the value of it. You're buying something that's going to grow, so it's a slight risk, but there is a certain amount of risk reducing, but because Channel 4 are on board, you get that. So we do our media numbers that way.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Bailey Barclaycard. We've got a big music and entertainment programme, Barclaycard Unwind, and I was just really interested in the artist side of things. Although obviously it's community backed, I just was interested in, we've kind of explored other opportunities similar to yours. The minute they hear that a large brand's involved, they immediately charge extortionate fees. What's your secret?
Can't tell you. In seriousness, there is something that we call a pro-social discount. So we pay our artists, we book our artists. We don't want to be in the stack of offers that an agent, a manager, an artist, or label is saying we don't want to be in competition with Oxfam and the stuff they do. We have a job to do for our brand partners. We expect Busta Rhymes to shout out Orange from the stage. We expect Lady Gaga to give an interview in an Orange environment. the pro-social discount comes in with this idea that do what you do, it's a paid gig. We can't pay Lady Gaga rates, but it is a paid gig, and just by doing what you're doing, tens of thousands of people will be inspired to give back. So that's where the discount comes in. And it's easy to say in a room like this. It's a very hard proposition to explain over the phone in about the 13 seconds that you get with an agent or a manager. And so we have a couple people that work for us, and all they do is sit inside those environments and continue to know those relationships, educate people on what RockCorps is all about. Because it's not, you can't say, oh, it's like that gig, it's like this gig. It's a paid gig, it's a discounted gig, but yet it benefits society. And continuing to educate all of those stakeholders in that, which is, you know, all the way from agent to artists themselves, is it just never rests, it never stops, and it's never easy. I mean, Andy and I were talking about this yesterday. It's just never easy getting the right artists to show up and do the right things. Once they do it, they love it. It's the one show that they've done where they've actually met their audience ahead of time. We require with the booking that they all come down and do one of the 4-hour projects. So when they stand on stage for one of the first gigs of their lives, they've looked and they've met their audience and everybody's connected. So we've never had an artist that said, I'll never do another one of those. Quite to the contrary, when's the next one? So slowly over time, infecting the music industry, which I thought was really hard until I walked into FIFA and tried to figure that one
out. Okay, any one last question before we wrap up? No, right, okay. Before we get Lloyds back on stage to make their announcement, can we give her a good round of applause, please?